just a few more songs. I know I'm going on. We'll end off in down south. This just a few songs from the southern part of the world. A morning in the Antarctic Peninsula, a place called Sierra Cove, and we were just out there putting the zodiacs. Everybody's just relaxed, and there's a very smooth swell, and these big icebergs are just sort of going back and forth, and light is splashing off the mountains. And all of a sudden we were just doing a slow parade around this bay, and joining us were 3 humpback whales who just slipped in with us. And they were right there, and just it was just a really, we didn't change our speed. They just came, they moved around, and then just in perfect time just headed off. And my feeling was, how much gas is in this? I just wanted to go with them, you know. Up. This is why I'm playing in Thessalon tonight and not Massey Hall. I just forgot what my goddamn tuning was. It was just, I've got such a long ways to go. Truth is, I'm exactly where I want to be. Tomorrow night is Spanish, and I remember Spanish from when I would hitchhike home from Scholar Hall, and I go by the reserve there, and the reserve dogs would come out, and I'd have to get a stick because they'd come out onto the road, and just, oh man, I was frightened, you know. Now they all come sort of wearing little things with cigarette packages on them. Icebergs rolling in the swell, morning Sierra Cove, 3 whales coming into sight. If you feel like singing along, it comes up again. Ice reflect the distant peaks, now bathed in light, 3 whales coming into sight. Coming into sight. 3 whales coming into sight. Let's get closer. Oh, look, they're sounding. There's a tail. 3 whales coming into sight. The sigh of the breathing, sigh of the world. 3 whales coming into sight. Let's get closer. 3 whales coming into sight. Did you get that shot? 3 whales coming into sight. Oh, I wish that they could tell me, world, that they know. 3 whales coming into sight. Oh, the sigh of the breathing, sigh of the world. 3 whales coming into sight. You do it. 3 whales coming into sight. 3 whales coming into sight. 3 whales coming into sight. I'm missing the men. 3 whales coming into sight. Icebergs rocking in the swell, morning Sierra Cove. 3 whales coming into sight. Ice reflect the distant peak, now bathed in life's light change. 3 whales sailing out of sight. 3 whales sailing out of sight. Thank you. 3 whales sailing out of sight. Thank you. 3 whales sailing out of sight. I realized on this tour that I write from quite often from a perspective of a young person. It gives me, it's sort of like for a photographer getting out of your point of comfortability. And it gives you a different perspective, of maybe an innocent perspective on things, or a way of looking up at what's going on. And this song came to me sort of as I was looking to do something, and then I heard this story. This comes from South Georgia, and it's about Ernest Shackleton, and probably all of you, how many people know about Ernest Shackleton? Anybody? A little bit. Well, basically he was an explorer that never got anywhere. But he was known as one of the, like they do sort of seminars on how he was with his men. He never lost anybody, and he was just exemplary as a leader. And it was evidenced in this story. He went to Antarctica to do a trans-Antarctic expedition in 1914, and he was sort of left and lost because the First World War broke out. And his ship got trapped in the ice. They got the lifeboats off. Men hauled them up to the top of the Antarctic Peninsula, but the current took them away from Adelie Island, and where they're hoping to get help. So they had to put to sea, and they went over to Elephant Island, which is one of the most godforsaken places on the planet. And they realized they couldn't stay there, so they had to go for help. So he left 22 men on Elephant Island, and then went off with 6 people, taking 3 troublemakers with them, which was a piece of brilliance. And they went across to South Georgia, 400 miles away. It took them a month. And they had only 3 days of sextant sightings because there was no sun. And they got there, but found themselves on the wrong side of the island. So he left the 3 troublemakers on the beach and said, "I'll be right back," and started going over 9,000-foot mountains with only a rope and a shovel. And he did it in 3 days. On the 3rd day night, he said, we're sunk. And he got on the shovel and said, "I'll see you at the bottom." And they ended up in Fortuna Bay, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, they heard the whistle of the Stromness whaling station. It took them 9 hours to get there. And the story where I come in is that the first 2 people who saw them coming down the mountain were 2 children. And they thought it was like a yeti or a mountain person, because they had this whole mythology of beings in the mountain. The weird thing is, when Crean, Worsley, and Shackleton came in, they asked about a 4th entity in the mountains because they felt that they had been guided through by something. So it was like the convergence of 2 mythologies at once, you know, and neither of them knowing about each other. So when I heard about the kids, this is where this song started. I never saw his face. Tom Green come up behind them, Worsley back away. They were coming down the mountain. My sister saw them come, looking as though wounded, and I wasn't too far wrong. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness. Their clothes were all but rags, their beards greased and black, and I got to say they smelled some. Their eyes all been slack, but I knew that they were human, for I seen them down the falls. But the place where they had come from said it all. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness. And when I saw their voices, their hollow, deep-set eyes, and I knew that they'd been haunted, or they met up with the guide. And my sister, she ran away. She was scared, I guess, but I figured I might help them as they struggled to Stromness. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness. I never said a word to them, they said to me no more. I took them to the agent's house, where he opened up the door, and the first ghost said, I'm Shackleton, but he'd been dead 3 years. And the agent fell to his knees, and I swear I saw the tears as Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness. And Shackleton stumbled, he stumbled to Stromness.